Welcome back to Films from Mars, where we talk about weird and wonderful cinema. Today we're diving into one of the most talked about movies of 2026, the martial arts movie The Furious, directed by stuntmaster Kenji Tanigaki. After premiering on the festival circuit, this movie kind of started gaining some reputation, being one of the most intense martial arts films ever made. Critics and fans alike praise the action, the fight choreography, and some calls it the best action movie in years. Let's talk about it and how it compares to other modern greats like The Raid or John Wick. So The Furious, I think it takes place in Taiwan. I don't even think they really even explain it fully. It follows Wang Wei, who's a handyman who's a mute, and his daughter. His daughter's kidnapped by a criminal trafficking network. There's been these missing kids all throughout town. The authorities, of course, fail to help, and he has to kind of go on his own to try to find out any leads that he has to get back his daughter. He runs into a journalist who's also exploring all the mysterious child abductions, and also his wife got abducted. So those two go on revenge through this criminal network to try to get to the bottom of what's going on. Premise is very similar, Taken, million other like kidnap sort of movies. But it's good enough to just propel the action. It's around 115 minutes, the movie, and it does exactly what it needs to do, and just kicks ass. I watch a lot of martial arts movies. I might not be the most foremost expert, but obviously looking at Bruce Lee and his evolution to Jackie Chan and Donnie Yen to Jet Li to maybe the Raid guys, martial arts and John Wick and things like that. Just seeing how the genres progressed and how the action is staged and how intense things are. Is definitely, where my curiosity leads. Most martial arts movies, obviously, you just kind of watch it for the fights and you don't really care about the plot line and such. This is kind of the same way. Like, I feel like I walked away not really caring about what happened with anything. Just like show me these cool, prop fights or long, fights. So how were those fights? Well, let me tell you. There's a few in here that are all-timers. I think there's a first little action scene, not with the main character, that starts it off, and I think they're using a little bit of CG where they're having a person fall or something along those lines, just kind of blend the cuts, and I was like, this is just going to be like a whole movie of that, and I was a little, not disappointed, but I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to really suspend my disbelief as the movie goes on if it continues like this. Fast forward, maybe 15 minutes, there's an action scene on a garbage truck that is just awesome. Just so well done, brutal. I have to say, all the fight scenes of this movie go on incredibly long, in a good way. They stage these cool little setups, and they have cool fighters, and they just brawling it out in every possible way possible. I sort of wish the two Mortal Kombat movies were kind of just this, instead of having some sort of hokey plot that I know is tied into the video game. But that alone, I think this is a new, kung fu classic. No doubt about it. Does it really have the same weight that like maybe the Raid or Raid 2, which I think are probably two of the better recent action movies? No, but that doesn't matter. These guys are, everybody that's in this, I think is going to have a great career and keep on doing these. Speaking of the Raid, two of the characters are from the Raid are in this. One of them has this amazing bow and arrow that he uses. He's been popping up, and I'm going to butcher his name. Actually, probably can't pronounce it, but he was in a Star Wars movie. He just I think he was in John Wick as well. He's just kind of this villain that you're starting to see all the time. And every time I see him on screen, I'm like, yes, let's go. Um, the main actor, I have not seen him in any other movie. I was looking at his filmography, and he's awesome. His fight scenes throughout this movie are brutal. I mean, it's sort of this. Yeah, I don't know what type of combat it is, but it just has this sort of barroom brawl with some organization and wrestling, and he does these kind of like fake kicks to then he goes follows it up with a real kick that I thought were really really fun. His sidekick, or not sidekick, but the journalism that's investigating, he played Sub-Zero in the two Mortal Kombat movies recently, and equally as good as a fighter. And then, when they first meet, they're fighting each other because they don't know, each other's motives. A few of the henchmen in this movie are just amazing. There's a big, bald, broody guy, and I think my favorite scene in this movie is he has a sledgehammer, and the two guys are fighting him with a sledgehammer, and it just goes on forever, and it's brutal. Second favorite fight scene, I think, is our main character has like a hammer, not like the old boy hammer, but more of a I don't know what you would call it, but a bigger circled heavy hammer, and he's fighting in a like a UFC type karate ring. Awesome. When he brings out that hammer, you're like, yes, go 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 go. The plot with the kids in this movie kind of gets a little silly at times, but I didn't expect some of where it was going to go with the kids and how all the main characters are interacting and the main villain and all that stuff. This movie just from beginning to end is filled with action. I mean, there's hardly any down point. When there is a down point, you're just kind of like, all right, I don't care. What I saw, and I think this is how they're releasing it in the States, is it's sort of a quasi-dubbed and subtitled version. I found that to be pretty distracting. I'd rather just watch everything in subtitles. I don't really need any dubbing. But I will say that the dubbing that was in this movie was actually of the better kind. Like, it wasn't... There's very few, like, bad line readings that, like, man, if you just read it, it probably was a little more intense, where the line reading comes out as silly. So, I didn't mind that. I just wish I just had the whole thing in subtitles, But maybe, if it's going to appeal to a more audience, great, I guess. So, where this ranks, I still think the Raid movies are, S tier kind of flavor, and you look at some of the Jackie Chan, like Project A, or I love Legend of Drunken Master 2, or Legend of Drunken Master was the American title, but Drunken Master 2. It's probably like my favorite martial arts movies. There's something about Jackie Chan and his stuntmen like really doing the stunts, like absolutely throwing their body at it. This, I'm like, man, these guys would be hospitalized after 10 minutes, and then they're fighting for a half an hour, Okay, whatever, it's a movie. I usually don't really care about that sort of stuff, but sometimes you're just like, all right, these guys are like superheroes, Again, some of the henchmen in this are wonderful. I really like the big broody bald guy. He has some great scenes throughout the movie. I think the martial arts without guns, I think it's something like John Wick, where it's kind of a gun kata, gung fu kind of movie. It was kind of refreshing to see like limited guns in this too. It was kind of like just fighting. I hope some of these video game movies, I mean, the Mortal Kombat movies, I'm very disappointed in these last two. I think maybe the fight scenes in 2 were better, but then you watch something like this and you're like, man, why couldn't I just get like an extended Raiden versus Kung Lao, like insanity, like this in the Mortal Kombat movies. It's nice to see that the main actor was in those, and if they do a third Mortal Kombat, maybe they take a different director and a different approach. This action director, did a lot of choreography in a lot of movies. think did some of the Raid too. But you know, I'm really excited to see what else this guy does, because I really think he's, you know, this whole group and this movie I think is going to live on a little bit. What did you guys think of The Furious? What are some of your other favorite martial arts movies? I'd like to hear, like, comment below, and keep spinning the discs. And don't have any discs today because I saw it in the theater, so definitely go see some stuff in the theater.